Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
Thanks for pressing play. My name is David Leslie, and I am the Marine. I hope some of y'all that are out there that are watching have actually taken the time out, paused during the introduction in order to take a look at and read the warning label, because on this episode, you should have read it. What I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about leadership. I'm going to talk about true leadership. And those of y'all that are out there, I'm going to wind up pissing y'all off, because we're coming up to the 2016 elections for our next president. The GOP is the GOP. They have their heads shoved so far up their ass, they can't even wipe the shit from their eyes in order to see what the hell is going on. But the Democratic Party seems to think that, you know what, Hilary Clinton is going to be the one that's actually going to break that glass ceiling. Well, being a combat veteran, being a Marine, having a daughter of my own, I can sit there and tell you that's not a woman that I want my daughter to look at and see as an example of a woman breaking the glass ceiling. One of the main reasons why is, out of everything that is absolutely outstanding about us as a nation and about us as Americans, that's the best woman we could pick that's actually going to represent our nation very well. And here's some points. And these just aren't things that are coming up out of smoke. These things have been publicized and produced and written about since Watergate. And if you're not educating yourself before you actually go to the voting polls, you are absolutely wrong. Being a Marine and being a combat veteran and actually being an NCO in combat, I've led men. True leadership just isn't something that you're born with, like some people would like to say. It is something that you've learned. You've learned through trial and error. You've made mistakes, you've accounted for those mistakes, and then you implemented the correct measures in order to ensure that those mistakes don't happen. Because as a combat NCO, it would have been more of a failure on my part if I lost a man in combat. I would have rather been put 6 feet under in a pine box than I have to go home and apologize to a family member because I lost their son or I lost their husband. That's the test of a true leader. And considering only 1% of this nation actually serves in the military, and even a smaller percentage actually serves in combat, here's a quick little bullet point on what a true leader is. A true leader isn't the popular candidate, because a true leader is willing to make those tough decisions, is willing to implement those tough measures, because he or she sees the bigger picture. And those tough and hard decisions typically aren't the popular ones, typically aren't the ones that everybody wants you to make. Those of y'all that are out there and you're parents and you have children, you understand this fully, because depending on the age of your child, it could be World War II inside your house, because you're the parent. You're making the decisions. You understand through life experiences what's right for your child. If you're not opening your eyes and reading and taking everything in as an American before you get to that voting box, you're wrong. End of story. In my opinion, if you're that ignorant, don't cast your ballot. Walk away. Because I cannot understand, based off of some of these things that have been written about Hilary Clinton since Watergate, why any woman on the face of this planet would want her to represent them as women. I mean, let's Let's actually start there. Let's start with Watergate. She was a legal clerk. She had just graduated law school from Yale and was fired during the Watergate investigations. She was fired because of scandalous practices, and she was fired because of lying. If that case and that material that she created was presented to a judge, she would have been disbarred immediately on the spot. She actually took a court ruling, rewrote it to ensure that a Supreme Court justice who was going through impeachment proceedings at that time would have been refused legal counsel. She legitimately attempted to take away the right of an American to have legal counsel under an investigation. That right there started everything about Hilary Clinton. Let's go to the Whitewater scandal. I mean, this right here is just 27 pages of the Whitewater scandal. 27, front and back. Millions and millions of posts, write-ups, newspapers. When the Clintons first got into office, over Whitewater, which is them hiding campaign contributions and faulty banking practices. And here's the scary thing about it. What we're seeing right now with IRS and the investigation that is going on with the IRS scandal in DC right now, one of the main investigators that is a part of this is a major campaign contributor to Obama. Guess who headed up the investigation practices during the Whitewater scandal? The same law firm that Hilary Clinton was a part of during that time. So it's blatantly obvious that she was going to come clean, but anybody that had any ties to her or Bill went down in flames, and they did. Let's move on even further. Let's move on to the fact that when she was in Bosnia, she sat there and claimed it had been under sniper fire when she landed in Bosnia. A blatant and total lie. Because the only thing that may have happened, that may have ruffled her feathers, was a little Bosnian girl gave her a flower. That was it. That was about as close as she got to a citizen within that country. Or how about the fact that during 9/11, when we lost a little over 3,000 Americans to one of the most deadliest terrorist attacks this nation has ever had, she lied about where her daughter, her own flesh and blood, was at during that time in order to make it seem like her own daughter, Chelsea, was in danger during 9/11, when in reality, at that time, Chelsea was in her apartment, nowhere near the World Trade Centers. Let's even go into another blatant lie that Hilary Clinton has been caught on, and that was her futures trading. She was definitely successful when the futures market, but she had help. Could have easily been investigated for insider trading because of some of the things and practices that she was implementing on the futures market. Got caught lying to that. Or let's even go into the fact of when she was Secretary of State during the State Department. We all just got finished seeing what happened with Boko Haram, a major terrorist organization in Nigeria, when they kidnapped all those Nigerian girls from their Christian academy, murdered all those boys. They're still around. They're still kidnapping women, selling them on the black market, or murdering them. They actually kidnapped, here recently, several Nigerian women, grown women. One of them actually was lucky enough to escape in order to report this incident to the Nigerian government. But during the time that Boko Haram was actually coming into fruition, she refused to put them on the terrorist watch list, even though there's a $3 million link between Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda. It was absolutely linked. and she refused to put him on the terrorist watch list. And let's go on to all the other things. Okay, the simple fact that al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, was on the most wanted list the Department of State could issue, with a $10 million reward, while she was the Secretary of State. However, ISIS created the first Islamic terrorist state we know of in modern history, a caliphate. Or the simple fact that the reset button, which was absolutely misspelled in Russian, was also a failed policy while she was the Secretary of State. To even the fact that she brought up in an interview how as defending a child rapist when she was an attorney, got him off because she made the 12-year-old girl on the stand look like the perpetrator of the crime, completely destroying a 12-year-old girl during that case, emotionally and physically. That 12-year-old girl is now an adult, and she's definitely voicing her issues about how Hilary Clinton handled herself during that case. And the lies don't end there. They absolutely don't end there. You got pages and pages and pages of lies all over. And this is what you want for a president? Just for the simple fact that you want that we as Americans want to be the first ones to sit there and say, hey, we finally broke that glass ceiling? It's destroying your nation enough for you to be able to say that. When look at what we have right now in office, and look at everything that's going on. How about the simple fact that during the Bill Clinton administration, the Republican Party attempted to push a bill through the House and the Senate that would allow Americans to create a medical savings account. Hilary Clinton stopped them at the door before they could actually talk to Bill, and specifically said Americans will not make the right decisions when it comes to their health care. It is up to the government to make that decision for them. And look at what we're suffering from right now with the Affordable Health Care Act, i.e. Obamacare. Look at what the Democratic Party, what she actually represents, are attempting to do to bypass the Hobby Lobby ruling. And I understand the abortion issue in this nation is absolutely a hot topic issue. But in my opinion, it is absolutely no way, shape, or form why the federal government should be involved in that decision whatsoever. Because that involves them in your personal life at the deepest of levels. And I don't want the federal government telling me or my children what they can and can't do. This is my life. I lived it. It was granted to me by God. And I don't answer to them any longer. Think about it. Do your own research. Put down the Starbucks for 5 minutes and look into everything that has been written from Forbes, Washington Post, New York Times, all these major news organizations, to ABC, to when she lied about the 4 Americans that died in the embassy. And she sat there and said that the answers to your questions are in my book. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you actually had to buy a book in order for you to answer questions while you were in public office, because you're still a public figure. That's not how America works. That's how we've never worked until now. Because This, as an ADD nation, has allowed it to happen, and it's time to stop. Because the only way we're going to get this nation back is by Americans standing up and making the hard decisions. It is absolutely our right as an American to ensure that the public officials running the federal government represents us as a republic. And if they don't, we kick them out of office. That is our power. And personal liberty is the biggest political enemy to anybody in the federal government. And it is the biggest political enemy to Hilary Clinton. Because the truth hurts. And the mainstream media is hiding that from you. Wake up. It is absolutely a privilege to be born free. It is a complete gift to live free. But it is your responsibility as an American to ensure that you die a free individual. That is it. I got my bullet points out. Follow me on Facebook. Real easy. David M. Leslie. Take a look at my nonprofit organization, the Tufahunan Project, and what we're doing for other combat veterans here in the DFW area. Definitely putting out a lot of programs to try to help link the private sector with veterans. And follow me on Facebook. I promise you these videos, they're getting better. Hey, I was a trigger puller, but I'm getting involved. Thank you for your time. Stay tuned for the next video. My name is David Leslie, and I'm the Marine.